In the previous lecture, I explained the concept of banality of evil to you. Through psychological experiments, I demonstrated how incorrect social rules and group pressure can trigger the banality of evil in a person, turning a good person into a bad one. Even if we do not commit evil acts ourselves, we may still enable others to do so, which can have serious consequences. Today, I want to talk to you about the topic of indifference. I will first show you a real-life example of how indifference can lead to disastrous consequences. On the night of March 13, 1964, at 3:20 a.m., a young woman named Kitty Genovese returned to her home in Queens, New York after work. At her doorstep, a man was waiting for her with a knife. Over the next hour, the man stabbed Genovese 76 times while she continuously screamed for help, murder. Help me, until she died. What is shocking is that in the subsequent investigation, it was found that at least 38 nearby residents witnessed the attack from their windows, but not a single person went to her aid or called the police. When interviewed, all of them said they assumed someone else had already called the police and they were on their way. In this murder case, the bystanders were not callous or morally corrupt. As individuals in a group, their sense of responsibility to prevent the crime was weakened or even disappeared. The phenomenon of collective indifference is known as diffusion of responsibility in psychology. It can be imagined that the larger the group, the more responsibility is diffused. Here, I want to share with you a life-saving tip. Suppose you encounter an emergency situation, such as robbery, heart attack, or car accident. What should you do? The first step is to make bystanders aware that the situation is extremely urgent and not a minor issue like a marital dispute or needing rest. The second and most important step is to refocus the diffused responsibility. You need to designate a specific person among the onlookers to help you, such as the gentleman in jeans. Please call 120 for an ambulance, instead of shouting, help without direction. Diffusion of responsibility not only makes individuals unwilling to stand up against evil, but also worse, it can trigger the banality of evil in individuals. This is because when an individual in a group commits evil, she distributes the evil to every member of the group, thereby reducing the individual's sense of guilt. Do you remember Professor Zimbardo, who conducted the simulated prison experiment in the previous lecture? He also conducted another famous experiment to verify the banality of evil. He removed the license plates and dismantled the convertible roofs of two beautiful luxury cars and placed them in a bustling New York City and a sparsely populated California town. He wanted to know which place the cars would be preserved longer. The results showed that in New York City, passers-by were like participating in a car dismantling competition, stopping to remove things from the car. Some removed the battery, some cleaned the interior, and some removed the tires. Soon, the car disappeared from the streets of New York. In contrast, in the sparsely populated California town, the camera set up by Zimbardo monitored for a whole week without recording anyone touching the car. Finally, when Zimbardo had to drive the car back, a kind person reported that someone had stolen the car. This is not because the moral standards of New York residents are lower or they are more indifferent. It is because in densely populated cities like New York, residents have become accustomed to anonymity and high diffusion of responsibility. Therefore, the mentality of if I don't do it, someone else will turns them into car thieves. I call this phenomenon the anonymity effect. Why is the influence of the group so significant? You may have a question at this point: why are we so easily influenced by the social environment? Why do we follow others' behavior? I will answer your question with a metaphor. Imagine you are driving on a deserted country road at midnight, surrounded by gloomy forests and the howling of wolves, and you cannot see any signs of human life. You will find that you check the car's oil level and engine status every 30 seconds. The reason why you are so concerned about the car's functionality is that it is the only barrier that separates you from this wilderness. This is also why we pay so much attention to our status in a social group. Solitude is like a deserted and dangerous forest. In fact, whether a person lacks a sense of belonging to a social group is a very effective indicator of whether she will die early. Therefore, we have a strong social motivation to make others like us and accept us, just like our biological motivation to spread genes. To become a member of a social group, you must be in step with the group. If you insist on being yourself, you may be exiled by the social group. This not only causes psychological damage but also may harm your physical health.